What up, is Marcus Nice with Dads. If you have 10 minutes, we're going to go through the craziest mock draft that I just saw produced by CBS. And so they did a 3-round mock draft of the NFL Combine. We're going to do the Dynasty rookie prospects out of that. We're going to go through the top 12 here. There are some easy ones, and then there was some extremely difficult ones. We're going to talk about a player that wasn't drafted in the first 3 rounds that I was actually a little shocked about, and I'm not sure what... You have to let me know what you would do if this player dropped out of the first 3 rounds. We'll talk about it towards the end of the video, but we're going to start off 101. 21st overall, the Los Angeles Chargers has been a very popular choice in the mock community lately. It's Bijan Robinson. And so I'm going to talk about 10 seconds of Bijan, and we're going to move on. Bijan is the 101 in pretty much every single situation. Anything that I can think of, even if a team's quarterback desperate, you got to take Bijan. He's the guaranteed best prospect out of this class. And Bijan, he's really the running back one in Dynasty right now, and you can't pass that up. I think you can find yourself a quarterback a different way versus trying to reach. Now, 102 through 104, I have been talking about, it is extremely difficult. You have the quarterbacks, and so you have to figure out which quarterback you like the most. And in this mock draft, 4th overall, Colts, Anthony Richardson goes there. And really, are you a boom or bust? Do you want a high ceiling, low floor, or a high floor, low ceiling? Do you want somebody that is going to be anywhere from QB 6 to 16, or do you want somebody that could be absolutely out of the league or in a different position, or quarterback 1 overall in Dynasty, like that type of volatility? And that's Anthony Richardson. And so Anthony Richardson right now is just going to be kind of in the 102 spot. It's very, very team dependent. If you're a team that has multiple first rounders, I love taking Anthony Richardson because he is that wild card of, like, he could be something. He could be something amazing that could really change your dynasty team, or he could be a complete bust. And you might waste a little bit of a pick here. So really, he is a wild card, and so I love Anthony Richardson for that. I mean, we've talked about him in a lot of different videos that we've produced in the past. If you have any questions, just post below. 103, Bryce Young, number 2 overall to Houston. He is that high ceiling, that high floor, low ceiling type of player. I don't see him being a top 3, top 4 quarterback in Dynasty, but I feel like he's going to be a good NFL quarterback. I think he's the best overall prospect quarterback-wise of the 3, talent-wise. But, I mean, I'm not a talent agent by any means, and I'm not an NFL scout by any means. And so, 2nd overall to Houston, he does get himself a wide receiver in here that we'll talk about a little bit later. But Bryce Young here is still I feel like he's my quarterback 1, but if Anthony Richardson go to the Colts with Jonathan Taylor and then with Michael Pittman, and if they end up taking any other pieces and adding them to the Colts, I think that is going to be a very, very intriguing spot for Anthony Richardson. So number 104, CJ Stroud, 1st overall to Carolina, and I've talked about Carolina. I think Adam Thielen is towards the end of his career. I don't think you're going to get much through him besides just being veteran leadership. They have Miles Sanders now, but they still have some pieces that need to be put into place there at Carolina. And so CJ Stroud, again, I think is a decent quarterback, but right now I still feel like I'd rather have the Anthony Richardson boomer bust or the safe play of Bryce Young right now over CJ Stroud, but let's see what the NFL draft comes along. In this situation, he's just going to be 104, but if you wanted him in 102, I wouldn't blink an eye and I wouldn't argue with you. So 105, that's when we start getting a little bit trickier. 105 in this situation is Jahmyr Gibbs. He is in the 2nd round, right in the beginning, 2.34, which is a very common spot for running backs, Arizona. And so I really like this situation. Yeah, short term, you're not going to have Kyler Murray or anything, but Jahmyr Gibbs is a dynamic running back, a top 10 dynasty running back already, even though he's barely a tish under 200 pounds. So I love it here. He's got the draft capital. Everything else, a little bit lower on BMI, and that is the one big complaint I think people have. But sometimes we get into weight where we put too much emphasis on weight. And we do. And so I admit it. I look at size and I go, oh my goodness, size. And if he was 209 pounds, we wouldn't bat an eye, and we would probably have him lock and loaded as even potentially a higher pick in this draft class. 10 pounds is a lot, but not a lot. I mean, it really is. And so if a defensive end was 245 versus 255 or 255 versus 265, John Randall, one of the greatest D tackles, had to add chains to his body to make sure that he could weigh more. And he was a destructive mechanism. So anyways, Yeah, way off topic. 106, Jaxon Smith-Njigba here. 112 to Houston, so he matches up with Bryce Young. I love this situation. I really hope that he does go to like a Houston type here, or even I would even take no, I wouldn't. I don't want him in Green Bay because I think that he's too good of a wide receiver. I don't want him in Green Bay. I'd rather have Green Bay have a higher risk type of wide receiver. But Jaxon Smith-Njigba here to 112 to Houston. I like that spot for him, and I think that's going to be a successful spot. It might be a little bit slow start with having Bryce Young as a rookie quarterback trying to give you fantasy points. But again, this is Dynasty. We're long-term here. So 107, Will Levis to 1. He's the 18th overall pick to the Rams. I feel like this is the, I guess, Matthew Stafford's slow retirement or slowly getting out of the league, unfortunately. And this just kind of surprises me. The Rams would trade into this position and take Will Levis here. I don't know why, but you got to take, at this point, the other positions didn't have a boom landing spot where we would go, yes, we have to take them over Will Levis. And so Will Levis still 118. I mean, still a quarterback that has some boom upside and could end up being the best quarterback out of this class. I mean, I'm not saying he is, but could be. There's a chance that he could be, and you have to take that at 107. And we've seen plenty of quarterbacks that are third, fourth drafted in the draft class, Herbert and Allen, be dynamic, great, amazing quarterbacks, and they were not the first quarterbacks overall taken in the NFL draft, and this is fantasy. So 108, Jordan Addison goes to the 15th overall pick to Green Bay. I like Jordan Addison. I think he is undersized. I think he is very thin, and again, we're talking about weight. We're talking about weight. We're always talking about weight, but Jordan Addison is a great separator, and I think this works well with Christian Watson. Christian Watson is that deep threat, that speed, that burner. Jordan Addison is that great. I mean, he's Romeo Doubs, but he's much more complete of a wide receiver than Romeo was. And so I love Jordan Addison here going to Green Bay. I think, and finally they draft the first round wide receiver right when they want to get Aaron Rodgers out of town. Surprise, surprise. 109, Devon Achane. This is where he's usually a little bit lower. And honestly, it's the situation draft capital that puts him into this situation. Second round, 60th overall, and goes to Cincinnati. And so assuming a little bit here that Joe Mixon's not on the roster. If he is, maybe he's down a spot or two, but Devon Achane right here is in this spot. Usually this is Zach Charbonnet's spot, but we're going to talk about what happened to Zach Charbonnet here in a second. 110, Michael Mayer. He also goes to Cincinnati. He's their first round draft pick. He is 28th overall, and I love this spot for Michael Mayer. I think that would be excellent to have Joe Burrow as your quarterback the next decade. Or even half decade. You're talking about that is a perfect spot for a tight end. And Joe Burrow has looked for the tight end position. He really has. And so I think having another weapon here, we'll see what happens with the future of like T. Higgins and stuff. If he ends up being there for a long period of time, there's always been trade rumors that anybody besides Chase on that offense has been basically either been traded, or there's been trade rumors, cut rumors, not for T. Higgins per se, but even like Mixon being cut. So there's a lot of different moving parts that potentially could happen with Cincinnati. They shored up their left tackle with Brown. So, I mean, really, I like this spot for Michael Mayer here. Number 111, this is where Quentin Johnston falls, and I could even see him falling further if this actually happened, but I had to put him here at least. 122 to Baltimore. This is we think maybe Lamar comes back, or potentially you just don't know. And really, that offense is, you have Quentin Johnston, now you have Rashad Bateman, and you have Mark Andrews, and you have no quarterback. And so that is a huge question mark. And so I could even see Quentin Johnston actually falling a little bit further here. But being a first-round wide receiver and being a very talented wide receiver, and many people's wide receiver 2, my wide receiver 3, prospect-wise, this is where I have him. And so, number 112, we're going to go with Luke Musgrave, which is a surprising one. It's not Dalton Kincaid. He was drafted a little bit later into a position. But 126 to Dallas, and I love that position. Again, they use Dalton Schultz all the time. He's no longer a Dallas Cowboy, and so they need another pass-catching weapon. And Luke Musgrave is not necessarily the greatest blocker. That doesn't matter. He doesn't need to necessarily block. You're going to have a little bit, hopefully, more open offense. Tony Pollard is a better pass-catching running back. You're not going to have a running or I wouldn't even say better pass catch. He's just more versatile on the outside, and so you're going to have an offense that might be opened up a little bit more. Even though Mike McCarthy says he's going to run the dang ball, which I don't know how he's going to do with only Tony Pollard on the roster, basically. Beats me. But anyways, Luke Musgrave here, 126 to Dallas. Let's talk a little bit, just like a 30-second spit it on Zach Charbonnet. Zach Charbonnet was not drafted in the first 3 rounds, and so he is my RB3. And so that concerns me. I don't even know where he goes in round 4. They didn't have a round 4 on this mock draft. So that's why he's not in the first 12 picks. It would depend. Is he going to be the Dameon Pierce, like gets drafted early in round 4 to a spot that really desperately needs a running back? And so that is going to be the key on where Zach Charbonnet goes if this was a type of draft. And that's why we always do some different mock drafts to see where some of these players fall. Honestly, the first 7, 8 picks are pretty not concrete, but I would say they're solid. They move around a little bit, but when you get from 9 to 20, there's so much movement going around in this draft. And so really the round 2 is going to be where you're going to have to separate through the weeds and try to find some diamonds here. And I am excited for that. And by the way, I'm going to be posting next week my first Dynasty rookie sleeper running back. And if you have missed out the last few years, I've done Elijah Mitchell. I had James Robinson as 2 of my sleepers. We're going to be doing another sleeper running back this year. We're going to do a couple of them, but there's one that I am definitely going to be wanting to post about next week, even before the NFL draft here. That comes in a few weeks. So, all right, this is Marcus Dynasty with Dads. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you guys again soon.